Hello everyone and welcome to yet another PCS2 PUBG analysis stream / video. This time around we're hopping on over to the APAC region, which includes all of Southeast Asia, I should say. And Australia, I guess. So Southeast Asia doesn't really include Australia, but all of the things on the other side of the world from me. Anyway, being in Denmark. Day one, game number 1. We're gonna do this region as well, of course. Probably the lesser known region for a lot of Western PUBG players. I feel like everyone, obviously, if you're from Europe, you watch the Europe region, and you've been paying some attention to NA as well, since EU and Asia, EU and NA have fought each other many times before. A lot of heavy hitters in Asia, meaning that probably even if you don't follow the Asian grand finals, you will know some of the teams and whatnot. But in APAC, I feel like that's probably, for the majority of viewers anyway, probably myself included, the region they know the least about. I do know a lot of the teams in the APAC region. I have seen them before. I've had the pleasure of casting some of them before, and done an analysis on their games before. But there's been a lot of changes, and to many of the teams, practically, not everyone, but almost all the teams that I have casted in the APAC region before. They've had changes along the way that I don't know too much about, because I'm only human, and as much as I want to follow all the regions, it's a lot to keep track of. And I will be honest and admit that the APAC region is probably, as I said before, not only for me, but for most people in the Western world, the region they know the least about. So this is going to be a lot of fun to dive into. I hope that after we're done with all the analysis of APAC, that I will get to know them better, and I promise that I will tune in to more of the APAC streams. And of course, I mean, I will watch the VODs at one point, but with wedding coming up in a week, it's a week from today, guys. I'm getting married in a week, and with the wedding coming up and everything, there's just a lot going on right now. I hope you can respect that. So believe me, for PCS3, it's going to be a whole other story. We're going to go way more in depth with everything. Now, let's get started. Day 1, game 1 of the APAC Grand Finals. Let's go. We're going to be using a lot of the acronyms for the teams, other than Fury, because that's Fury, but KT, Day, Divine I can do, but VTR, BAE, that's what I'm going to be calling a lot of the teams, because as much as I have the list, I mean, I know that BAE is Battle Arena Elites, but again, I must admit, there are some of the teams that I don't know that well. But doesn't change the fact that we have an opportunity here to analyze and maybe go, that's not how I think some of the EU teams would have done it, or that's not how the Asian teams would have done it. Or maybe we're looking in here and saying, God damn, these guys, they know a thing or two, and maybe we'll learn something from them. Let's see. Game 1, pretty straightforward. I'm getting a phone call. Do I want to pick up the phone? No. We will wait with that until later, because I don't think it's going to be important. Eastern Circle, south around. Los Leones, very much in play. Fury getting themselves looted up there makes perfect sense. Bro is going to wrap south around. And up north comes MG. Again, pretty straightforward. You have some prime real estate over towards the eastern fields of La Bandida. Yeah, well, I should say in between La Bandida and Impala. And other than that, I mean, most teams are going to try and avoid Los Leones. So wrapping south around, wrapping north around, or maybe coming in through Minas, depending on how well a team like Star knows CS's rotation timings. It's always dangerous if you're the team behind the Minas team. So whether you're the one looting in Hacienda, or whether you're looting in San Martino, maybe even to some extent Power Grid. If you don't know the Minas team that well, it can be scary trying to make a rotation up this road, because for starters, you're driving uphill, so you're not going to be able to maintain your speed all the way through. And if they're still looting, there's a big chance that by the time you're out on the other side, you will have lost a player or two. So most teams, at least normally, up to either wrap around one way or another. And I would assume that at Star, the guys, the Australian team, will do the same thing. Let's see, though. The Oceanian team, I should say. Both Day and KT wrapping up towards Los Leones. Okay. They're opting to stay here. Huh. Okay, that's a little surprising to me, opting to settle for the west side of settling for the west side of Los Leones in a circle like this. That's not what I would have thought. I think there's a lot of areas over and around here that you would rather sit in the first circle that they probably could have scouted. But then again, I mean, you're running in next to another team. You know that they stopped as well. That's gonna maybe put a little bit of a damper on your rotation as well. CS wide split they've got going here. They're going straight into Brew. Brew comes to help, and I mean Suzu and Haisaki are way too far away to really have an impact. Fortunately, Circle shifts away. Unfortunately, though, it doesn't mean that Brew opts to go away. They're taking the fight to them. Instead, as I say that, no, they are staying to fight. But South hard shift, let's not ignore that. Rewind a little. Massive South hard shift. Everyone on their vehicles. Why is this hard shift so bad? Well, for one reason in particular. I think the north side is one of the hardest sides to get into Los Leones from, because you have to maneuver through all the like container areas, or you have to send it through past a lot of these usually taken areas of the map. East, you only have one road, but you can still try and fight your way up the hills. West is pretty open. That's a pretty straightforward rotation. But coming from the north or from the east, you're very limited in your rotation opportunities because of the hillsides of various sizes, which are normally taken by most. So I would expect to see a lot of teams trying to wrap south around, or maybe even try and wrap around the west, and to some extent leave Los Leones. Let's see if that's going to be the case. A lot of teams on that east side. And then the west as well. Divine down towards Day. You can only fit so many teams on one side of a circle. And, you know, it's one of those. A good idea is not a good idea if everyone thinks it's a good idea. Does that make sense? And in this case, what do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 teams. Half the server is in the circle I've just drawn. A lot of teams thought it was the best play, as I just said as well, to make your way down here. And it probably is on paper, but because everyone is opting to do it, all of a sudden, this nice, open, completely free to rotate through west side looks pretty nice. Or maybe the north side, where there's only one player in Mamonyi, is starting to look pretty damn nice. This down here is a cluster, and I'm afraid they won't be able to untangle this spider web by the time the next circle pops. As a matter of fact, though, they kind of do. While it's still somewhat clustered on the east side, they actually managed to, you can see they leave, DXG managed to leave as well. Surprisingly few engagements. Maybe it's one of those, okay, it's game 1 of the tournament, we need to come off to a good start, we don't want to take these clustered fights, let's just leave and make space for somebody else. Because had there been 8 teams here in EU, it would have been a clusterfuck. Sorry for my bad English, or somewhere from my inappropriate English, I guess, for some. But this would have been an absolute cluster had you had 8 teams on top of each other down here. And I want to say pretty much all of the regions. So pretty fun to see how they all managed to, not all, but majority of them managed to get out of there without a fight. Star opts to continue south around. Again, you have a center of the circle which is playable for sure, but really hard to get control of because you will most likely be visible to either one side. And it's hard to get to. So even if it's available, and even if you could get there, who's going to go there? I mean, KT, pretty satisfied with their position, I would assume. AAP, probably pretty satisfied as well. Even though I'm expecting the circle to shift away from all of this, it should probably go down here. I think AAP are satisfied enough that they could go up here if they want to. They probably haven't even had a chance to scout it yet. So they're pretty satisfied. They ain't going nowhere in the near future. So for a team that would want to go there, let's say MG would want to go there, how the hell do you get there? If all the teams that are around there are satisfied with where they are. They might want to do this. They could. But that's a scary rotation, and it's probably not the first thing that comes to mind when you have to go somewhere. Like, let's just send it to the center and hope that no one is there. Because would there be a team up here? Then they're pretty screwed. So let's see what ends up happening. Could be the CS does it, do they? I should say again, I haven't had a chance to watch these games, so if I do get something like that right, that's just, I guess, my PUBG senses tinkling and telling me that MG is gonna full speed send it to the center in a moment, which I don't think is gonna happen. As I said, avoid this as much as possible. South we go. Oh, a cave ending. Oh, is this the game? Nah, I feel like I would have heard about it had there been an actual ending inside the cave. That someday. They need to expand this cave so much that you can get out of it over here. Imagine that. A massive cave network down here, where you can get out on like all sides. It would be absolutely horrible, because it would be like the shelter endings where you have a team sitting on top and then a team that gets stuck inside, and it's like, well, I wonder who's gonna win. I've had so many of those games before. But honestly, I mean, speaking of a passive region, I know that there's some teams that go out harvesting kills in the APAC region, but we're 16 minutes in a pretty difficult circle. Like, this is a circle where you don't have that much space to play around. Everyone is clustered together pretty much. And we've only lost 2 players in the first 16 minutes. That would not have happened in other regions. That's for sure. Other teams would have already now probably would have seen a team or 2 eliminated. So whether it's because teams are being more passive, or it's because teams are playing a little more, not scared, that's the wrong word, but a little more defensive, it's honestly pretty impressive that we haven't lost more at this point. But it just means that whenever the chaos does pop off, that the chaos pops off. We'll see, though, how the impact is going to be on it. What is going to happen here? Starting to lose more players. Divine, they make themselves across the road. Gets a little dip up there. Now the new circle send us again. Oh my god. Are we actually going inside? The thing is, this circle is horrible in so many reasons, because from up here, it's just one big downhill in this direction. So anyone sitting down, not everyone, but a lot of the teams down here have pretty good vision on top. That's why you see no one has opted to push down yet, or at least no one has opted to utilize this area at all, because you're just in the middle of the open on a downhill slope and you're gonna get killed. So XS for now can sit here and look in this direction, but they're even exposed all the time to MG and to some extent Bro, or BRU. So it's tricky. It's really tricky. Divine, cave it is. They send it down towards the cave. XS are here already. I cannot tell if they're inside the cave or on top of the cave, but probably around the cave somewhere. New circle pups. Oh, we're shifting away from the cave. That's unfortunate. Imagine it if it had shifted north. That would have been actually hilarious. I've never seen that in competitive or in public games before. I would love to see it, but unfortunately, not quite the case. It's still a tricky area to fight through, though. It's really damn difficult. And all of this, I mean, because so many teams stayed alive for so long, how the fact that we still have 37 people alive in this circle is completely baffling to me. This is going to be a cluster beyond belief. And everything is going to be close quarter engagements, which is really hard to analyze. Like, it's not that I don't want to analyze this, but it's kind of like the whole ending of this game is pretty much analyzed by what happens early. Because since so few teams and so few players die early, and we force all of them into these open areas where the compounds are going to be absurdly strong and everyone that doesn't have a compound are screwed, then that kind of explains the story. And it's really hard to do in-depth close quarter engagement analysis off of stream where we don't have the POVs or the point of views of the player. We're looking at it from a bird's eye view, and there's so much terrain, so much like quick leaning and peeking and mechanical individual skill that we can't really analyze off of a view like this. So I'm kind of just letting this game in particular roll out the way that it is, and then we'll see for anything that we can look at, because this is all, I mean, I can't tell if the players are inside the cave or outside the cave, and it's all about players trying to secure space inside the circle. I'm loving that we're seeing DXG. I thought they were going to push out the compound, but no, now they've got the compound inside the circle. I thought they were actually going to push out because they don't want to allow for VTR to kind of isolate them. So they are pushing out. Fergus is running up. I like that play. Smart play by DXG. Runs down again to heal. Ronan is making a play to try and push forward as well. Secures some space. He ends up going down. But I like the fact that DXG, other teams would just sit in here and be like, oh, we're inside the circle. Let's just wait for all the other teams to fight. And then by the time they have to leave, they end up getting killed and probably they could get third place. Whereas if they run out, take control of this side of the road, they're playing for the win. And I love to see that they're being proactive about it. Divine, Turtle, and Dion on the other side. One goes down. Sword and Lynxy trying to make plays. It's just like a four-way road type thing. And really damn hard to fight around. Lynxy plays contain, try to hold off KT. Sword crosses the road to individually take the fight. And they both lose their fights. That's unfortunate for them. Then it becomes a 3v3. 1 down, 2 down. Do you have it, Nisa? No, he doesn't. They all go down. DXG wins the game. Pretty straightforward. And why did DXG win the game? Because they were being proactive about it from the start. Like they were being smart about their play from the very beginning. They knew that we need to go out and make a play. Because had they still been down here, then you would have had VTR playing out here, containing them, and then by the time they leave, they would have killed them, and VTR would have been the ones taking control of the other side of the road. So, smart plays by DXG all the way through. And again, we're going over these games a little faster, mainly due to the fact that some of the teams I don't know too well. But it doesn't change the fact that we're going to be taking looks at it and hopefully get to understand the region better. I hope you're enjoying it. If you're watching on Twitch, if you're watching on YouTube, doesn't matter. I hope you're having a good time watching. North is where we're headed. West is going to be somewhat open. Of course, you can still hit the horizontal roads and get to your rotation spots pretty easily. I feel like eastern plains are easier for western teams than western plains are for eastern teams. Does that make sense? Because it's pretty easy to hustle vehicles every now, like here and there. And I feel like you have more alternative loot spot opportunities towards the northeast with so much up here than you do towards the west, where you really only have Alcantara and Trailer Park because the Cooperaria is usually taken by some team. El Pozo is as well. Monte is taken. And then, I mean, what do you have left here? What would you rather loot? This stuff or one of these three? Because it's rare that we have a game where all these four are taken by like teams that go, okay, this is our loot spot. We only loot Sierra Bronca. It just doesn't really happen too often. So let's say BAE wanted to be down here on another plane. This is still pretty decent. South/center circle with the eastern plane. Obviously, you're going to know that there's a pretty big chunk of free space towards the west. So for rotation opportunities, DXG, for example, probably look to rotate west around. Maybe something like this, maybe something like that, maybe something like this. Plenty of space for them to rotate into the circle. High ground position, scout forward. Okay, no one is in El Pozo. We can rotate in and get a good position. Is it Gamer House? Game Home? GH? I think it is, right? Yeah, it is. Do they loot like this? Okay, so they were far. And then they split. They probably would have gone power grid normally, but they just opt to split there instead. They go up towards graveyard. They realize it's taken. Go back to split. Godno is, well, somewhat isolated from his teammates. Something else in glories on the other side. They plenty of space. FTF, same thing. Not really in a hurry to go anywhere. Nice splits. And no one's really contesting them. Like, there's a lot of uncontested splits in the middle of the circle. Again, teams are giving each other a lot of space. I'm waiting for that one super grid. Like, in a lobby like this, a team for anyone coming from the EU region, a team like DA would thrive in a lobby like this. Because whenever they crash stuff in the center, In EU, sometimes or oftentimes they run into a 4-man team and they end up dying. But here it would just be 1-man fights. They would get all the compounds they wanted. So if this region had that one team that just crashes center, that's going to be scary because a lot of teams are being allowed way too much in the middle of the map. So I hope that whenever, I mean, that should be now actually, that we get to the second week of APAC, that for the next time we do analysis of, maybe even for the next day, maybe even day 2, they've already read this, that there's going to be more of a fight for good center compounds, because some teams are being allowed a lot of space, which they probably shouldn't. Somewhat uncontested. Let's see. Ooh, this is a fun shift. We don't see those too often. Usually they go down towards the south, out towards the crater. But now we're going north up towards Picado. Now we know, or at least we expect, the circle to shift away from this. So it's gonna go down south into probably one of the worst ending areas in the universe, because as soon as you're outside of Picado, it's just flat fields all the way down to here. Like everything here. It's just an open field. Which means that it's a pretty, like, if you know for sure that the circle's going to go down something like this, then that is a lot of space that you cannot really use for anything. Then you can crash into Picado. Like right now there's 1 player in Picado. Believe me, by the time this circle comes to a close, there's probably going to be more like 5 teams. Because all these guys down here, I mean, they can't all just fight for the same spots. I would be very surprised to see anyone go up here at this point. I would be very surprised to see that. As you can see, everyone is crashing into Picado. Yep, that's what I would be expecting. Same thing here. They need to go do something. I think XS is wrapping north around to go into Picado as well. Where are XS going? Okay, so they wanted to go down here, forced to take a fight. Not the worst rotation, but yeah. As I was going to say, it's going to end down here. Where were XS before? They were here. Oof. They did not have to go very far. And they could even scout this from up here. XS had a chance to scout and see that these guys were leaving. They're running around. I don't know what Marcus is looking at. But that right there is a you gotta take this. That is a clear call to send it further in. Instead they rep the other way. They must have been looking in this direction then. Because had they seen or heard, there's a Mirado there. They might even have heard the vehicle move, but of course, I mean, there's a lot of things going on at the same time. That is a very prime position not being taken by anyone. Also, to be honest, with this shift, I'm surprised that FTF leaves all 4. They could have 2-2 split this if they wanted to. With how passive this lobby is. Instead, they commit all of them into the city rather than play, like, they're giving up some pretty prime loot, like pretty prime, that's a tough one, pretty prime positions to play inside a city that they're probably never gonna get to leave. That is very surprising to me. The fact that they gets to go up here. Look at Day's 2-2 split. How are they allowed to have this split? That's surprising. That is very surprising. So XS forced to go north around. Now the circle comes back. I'm very surprised by how much space some of these teams are given. I like KT, how they're trying to split out and say, well, there's always the off chance something weird happens and we have a chance to go north, but now we have to go south. Fair enough, we already have players to make a kind of pearls on a string rotation down towards the south. The thing is, they have to beat DXG to it. BAE goes, how in the universe? I need to talk to Neverhor and be like, did you guys expect that to be free? Because I wouldn't. And they get a free position. That is absurd that they can get that for free at this point in the game. Obviously, there's nothing you can really play in the center. It's just a big downhill towards Picado. So next shift is going to be really, 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 really tricky. Like, no one can leave. For those of you guys who, for whatever the reason may be, shouldn't know the topography of this terrain, it's all just downhills. Like this whole area up here, draw it in a different color. This whole area up here is uphill. And then it's all downhill towards the west. Which means if anybody here are forced to go to the southeast, they're pretty fucked. And if anyone up here is forced to go down the hill, they're also fucked, but less fucked, because you would much rather drive full speed. Like if you're crashing something, you would much rather drive full speed down a hill than drive slow speed up a hill. So this shift is going to be really interesting. Either we're going into the city, which is going to be horrible for everyone, including the people that are already in there. Either we're going into the city, or we're going, well, anywhere else. Because down here, we talked about the open field before. That's going to be trash. East is a massive uphill in this direction. South is a massive uphill in this direction. So no matter where, like, I feel like the best place to go now would be in Spicado. Just for the sake of at least you can crash it and roll the dice and hope that you get a spot to play from. So let's see what's happening. We're excluding the entirety of Picado. That is so bad. Oh, that's such a difficult circle. We have 47 people alive now. We're probably going to go down to something like 15. Maybe a little more by the end of this shift. That is so bad. And you cannot do anything. You're just fucked. You are just fucked. Everyone's forced to go crash something. Yet 27 people survive because they don't finish their fights. Fury has all the room in the universe, and somehow there's still a lot of people surviving. That is interesting though. That was a fun shift. That's gotta be so damn hectic when you play out the game. And still, I mean, I'm surprised that we're not seeing more aggression in these type circles. Furry pushes over the top, tries to get into a better position. Why kick a moo cow? Left somewhat alone on that one, unfortunately. They have this kind of hilltop here that they can play behind, and then they're looking down like this, so they can utilize the hill. They need to make sure the back is safe though, which they don't. Now they're gonna get third party because they don't play aggressive enough. Yep. Waikikamuka runs out, gets caught on his own. They do get the double down here, which is nice. He gets the... Okay, that's got to be a nade or something, because he gets all the kills. And at this point, what do you do if you're Fury? How do you avoid getting third-partied at this point? You commit to one fight. You have to commit. At least 2 players on one side. And instead, they're holding here. And by holding, they're allowing for both teams to swoop in. That's gonna get them killed. Like now they commit to running the other way, but it's just too late. Brew backed off. And now it's a passive 4v3 on each their side of the road. Brew are being really passive. I mean, even when they come up here, they take the car, they leave. Obviously, they get the circle, so they go, well, we'll let these guys fight. But had they not, look at this. They were down here with Gut Meow on the other side, probably holding and making sure that they weren't trying to push over the south side. Had they stayed instead of leaving? Had they stayed here? Like, had they been down here right now, maybe with Gut Meow pushing across, or maybe just trying to hold here, while they're fighting, they could have come in from behind and third-partied it. Instead, they're backing off, or they could have been over here already, ready to hold on the other side. But they back off, they play behind, they play behind, they play behind, and in the end of it, because they're not containing well enough, Norins gets to cross. I mean, again, there's probably smokes and everything being utilized, which we cannot see, but the more aggressive team wins. It's pretty straightforward. And who is the more aggressive team? It's the team who was allowed. I mean, this split is not that uncommon. They were just allowed to do whatever they wanted. How are they allowed to maintain this 2-2 split for so long? They're just butchering people all over the place. They're running through them. And by the end of the game, they have 11, 20 kills. That is not a bad game for day trade. That's a 30-point everyone else was playing scared game. 20 kill win for a day because no one else did anything to stop them. Everyone kept backing off. That is surprising to me. This is not by any means, this is by no means a BM to anyone, by the way. But I'm still surprised. Again, when we talk about metas and stuff in PUBG, right now it's a very aggressive me first type thing. If there's a buffet, you can be damn sure that all the teams, at least in most regions, will do everything they can to get as much food as they can, because whenever they come the second time around, there might not be anything left for them. That's how people are playing. We don't share, we take. But in APAC, at least the first 2 games, again, it could be, oh, it's grand finals, we gotta get placement points, we gotta play safe, we gotta come off to a good start. That could still be the jitters, but still, I'm surprised that it's as passive as it is. Because, I mean, it's just, again, it could be that the APAC region meta is just different. I'm just surprised to see it because I've seen, like, now I've casted, I mean, I've done analysis of all the other regions, and it's just very different. Very different. But it's fun. It's very fun to see how it can be different. I do not mind that at all. Game number 3, though. Let's continue. Game number 3, very southern plain. Big chance for a military circle. Let's see if that's what we're getting. No. Not military at all. A lot of teams jumping out late, meaning that it's going to be a lot of rotations in this direction, meaning that there's probably also going to be a lot of rotations up in that direction, because you have so many teams out here. Had it only been 2 or 3 teams towards the west, they would be like, well, then there's not too much pressure, we can just push in. But for a team like MSC that already knows that there are 4 other teams here, it's like, you know what, we might be better off just going something like that. Let's see. Pretty even split. Again, this is the first Erangel game of the grand finals, so obviously some teams might land on top of one another. The XG splitting out. Day, decent split for them as well. AAP, that's Erangel, yeah, Erangel. I've casted them before, not with the exact same lineup, but another Erangel lineup. So plenty of space on the north side of the circle, obviously, since it was a south side plane. Meaning, what are they doing? GH? Driving over the top and through. And MG lets them do that? Okay, fair enough. Are they just going to go into Yasnaya? Why not? I mean, it's free. No reason not to. They get themselves a decent split off of that. They even take control over here as well. Probably want to take this instead of the yellows, but decent 3-way split anyway. Divine, Pearls on a string, in the middle. Are they? Oh, Fury. Are you anticipating this? Oh, the timing. They were even waiting for it. I hope Fury knows. I hope Fury knows on day 2, or even in the next game, that KT does this. Because that's a warning for, like, this is a free one. for Fury. I hope their coach is going, guys, let's not take that bridge again in the near future, shall we? But Circle hard shifts north. KT goes, well, this is a waste of time. And then they leave. That is, had they been there for just another couple of seconds, that would have been a bridge camp. Damn. What up? Again, talking about passive play. It's not a big deal by any means. But when you have a circle like this, I know it's a southern plane, therefore you're probably expecting there to be more people playing south side. But there's no way in hell, with a plane that comes in here, you know that the Milta and Milta Power teams are the first ones to loot. Like, they're down on the ground now, they're already looting at 1 minute. When the circle then goes north, there's no universe where the Milta team stays. Like, if you're playing this circle correctly, you don't stay in Milta if you're the Milta team. You're going north. And early, because you have good loot, so you can move early. Like, you have a lot more time to do it. Whether you go this way or you go over this way, it doesn't matter. But you're going to be moving somewhat early. Either towards prison or trying to take something around mansion, whatever you want to do. So the fact that KT stays for the entire circle, at this point is already free. And it's small things. It's small things, but I want to talk to you about it. The fact that KT stays, that's fine. They're trying to bridge camp, is what it is. Circle then shifts north. If you're gonna rotate north in this circle, now from down south, you know that you're gonna be the slowest team to it. Yes, you can want to go out here, but then you do this. You just drive through the city, or you even go up here. This is completely unnecessary. You're wasting a lot of time. I mean, again, they're probably just like, we're not in a hurry to move in early. No big deal. Now they're gonna get bridge camped or gate kept by Brew. But you move earlier. This is just them spending an extra, I want to say, at least 40 seconds on a rotation that they could have cut off. Or maybe even done something like this and been up there like a minute earlier. This is very... it's wrong to say it's scared, because it could just be this is what their usual rotation is in these type circles. But to me, that is unnecessarily passive. You know what I mean? Like, that's unnecessarily passive. And they end up paying for it because Brew is sitting there waiting. Look at how much space there is in this circle. All of this is free. Are there any splits going on in the middle? That's a pretty usual two-way split. Mansion is not taken by anyone. Star were there. Then they go to L instead. Because they probably think, okay, Mansion is gonna get pushed. They were looking for a boat. That's the rotation they were going for. God damn it. Is that your thing now, Cuff? Is that your thing now? So Star leaves because they don't want to maintain a two-way split, because they're probably expecting Mansion to get pushed. Heaven is free as well. Two-way split. Mansion open, open, open. And Brew allowed to hold this because Eddie is like, well, there's no one here. I might as well just chill in Mansion by myself. They can go for some extra free points if they're expecting that to happen, and then go in and play the circle. Two-way splits. Two-way splits. Let's see what happens next. Hard shift west. Okay, so I'm expecting these two guys to go up here. This three-way split is not... I mean, how are they even allowed to maintain this three-way split? I don't know. Let's see what happens now. Two-way split. He's going up. I was gonna say, you're not gonna be able to maintain those splits if a team comes aggressive on you. No one is scouting this. CES? Are you not aware that they left? I love this because it's just a very different meta than what we're seeing in other regions. BAE up to stay on the side. Fair enough. They don't want to stress it. Waiting for the next shift. They still have a chance to rotate south around because everything is free down here. Circle shifts north. Sophia is pushing up. It's not a meta. Zoid, I'm trying. I'm trying to be polite. There's just so many decisions being made in this that is very. The thing is, I can't say if it. I can say it's dumb in terms of this would never work in, let's say, EU or Asia. But for some teams, I mean, day trade are maintaining two-way splits for like 3 circles longer than I would think them to be allowed to do so. But the thing is, why would they ever learn that it's a bad split to maintain when no one is punishing them for it? Like, no one is daring to punish them, so it works out. So I mean, as I don't want to use the word dumb, because I think that's wrong, but as, to me, incorrect of a 3-way split as this is, this late in the game, because had it been any other region, they would have been punished for it. If you're used to not being punished, then you obviously get greedy as fuck. I mean, I'm just glad to see them getting punished for it. Like the fact that, who was it? Divine? The fact that Divine crashes them to take the fight, I'm glad to see it, because it's like, obviously, that's going to be taken. But the fact that CS doesn't scout and take this compound, liquid compound, as I would, or we would call it in the European region, I don't know if APAC has another name for it, is just very baffling to me. And it's gotta be for a player who's maybe more used to the playstyle of European or Western teams, I should say. It's gotta be very confusing to play these type lobbies, because you never know what to expect. It's gotta be very confusing. It's gotta be very confusing to play in these lobbies if you're used to, like, the, not mentality, but used to going up against teams with a more Western PUBG mindset, I guess you can say. So in that sense, I would kind of call it a meta. It's just, a meta is tendencies in what teams do and what's strong. And right now, at least, I mean, we're only 3 games in. Right now, what I'm seeing is that splitting center is strong because no one punishes you for it. The fact that Divine came down here, glad to see it. They didn't succeed, fair enough, but they tried to punish a wide split in an area of the map that should never be allowed to happen. So the fact that they tried to do it, to me at least, makes perfect sense. I'm just very surprised by the passiveness from so many teams, because they shoot themselves in the foot by doing so. There's no strategy. The teams never do the same. Well, I mean, some teams are thriving in the chaos, it seems, given the leaderboards. I mean, Divine, 92 points. They seem to be enjoying the passive playstyles pretty well, even though they ended up going down just now. Let's continue and see what happens. I think Zoid is down here. By the way, if you guys don't know who Zoid is, very nice guy. He's chilling down here with his teammates. Let's see what happens next. I'm just saying, I'm enjoying watching this because it's very different from what I would normally be looking at. Brew, push to heaven rather than wait for the next circle and see what happens. Because whenever this circle pops, if you're Brew and you're sitting down here, in another universe, you could probably have taken your cars, parked them up here, and then waited for the next shift. And then by the time that shift pops, you go, well, I'm glad we didn't crash into heaven and lose our vehicles doing that. Because now the shift goes away. Okay, fair enough. BAE, they know that Star are playing up here. Sophia, as we said before, pushes up the hill. We still have AAP or ARC What do they? God damn it. Erangel. Playing up on the north side. MSC have to do something. Where does CES go in this? Again, they must know. They have to know that there's only one player inside of here. At least they should know. Not for players. Yeah, I'd imagine. So they leave to play the dips on the outside. Fair enough. You're further towards the center. This would have been a hard cover. You could probably even split that. But if they, for whatever reason, didn't have a chance to scout it, fair enough that they leave. They play the north side. Now, Cheaperit leaves to go to his teammate. They play the dip. This is completely open. BAE up to push towards you guys. How many are you alive? You're only 2. No, you're 3. Okay. Where were you coming from before? Now that Soid is here, it's always fun to have a look at it. So you're playing the area that I was talking about before that Brew should push to after you leave. Grab around. Oh, you're rotating right after. Yeah, okay. So you come around this way. You know that Heaven is taken. CES comes underneath you. That's probably where you're intending to go here. Where did you want to go? Out here? Or here? Oh, here. Yeah, okay. And CES gets there before you. Shit happens. You get beat by a couple of seconds on a rotation. You end up playing here instead. And then BAE commits to try and take you out rather than... I guess, I mean, the thing is, there's no way. I mean, BAE have some pretty... I mean, Flood is there, Neverhor, Sophia, those guys. I don't really know who Loki's is. But those 3 guys I know. I mean, they have a lot of they have a lot of playing experience. I don't think they're expecting this to be free. If it was me and I was sitting down here, I would probably expect there to be a team in the bowl down here and a team here. So you cannot just rotate this way. We cannot even go down here to scout this way because there's probably a team about to rotate up this way as well. So to me, I mean, them pushing you is probably the only play they could make and then play on foot and hope that there's some space over here, which they're then going to be gifted a shit ton of space. So their play and pushing you doesn't really, like, it's not a bad play in my book. You wrote something about them earlier. I don't know what happens later. Yeah, exactly. That's like, yeah, they have to deal with you because if they wrap around, you're just going to be like a pain in the ass for them, quite literally. You're going to be behind, like pushing in behind them. And they cannot scout further forward before they've dealt with you. So smart play on their part to go deal with you. They figure out, wait, this is all free. And then they enjoy that. But again, not even scouting this. Maybe they are. I don't know. It's probably just one of those you're taking for granted. I don't know if you guys watched that game. We talked about it a little while back as well. There was a game, and I cannot remember what tournament it was. It's like a year and a half ago, where Ibiza, it's on Miramar. Ibiza is sprinting through an open field in the middle of the game. And I remember casting it. I was like, what the hell is going on? What is EB doing out there? And the fact of the matter is, even though it would be like sprinting like through here, even though there's a billion teams around him, because no one is expecting anyone to be running in that area, no one is ever looking for him. And I feel like this is the same situation for BAE. Of course, I mean, had they known, they would have taken it. Had they known, they would have taken this and probably taken the hill as well. They could even split it like 1-1-2 or something like that, or 2-1-1. I just don't think they ever even think about looking at this compound because look at this circle. There's 33 people alive. Of course this is taken. I mean, that's a no-brainer. The cars are probably still down there from earlier as well. It's one of those weird situations. Now Loki's is coming back to scout and he's like, wait, there's no way. There's no way. And then they get it. It's like, wait, this is free as well? That's gonna be so confusing. Like, that's where it jeopardizes all your knowledge of playing PUBG competitively. They get it for free. They go up on the ridge line to push forward. They hear the fight going on. They get a chance to third party. Makes perfect sense. No, I agree, Zoid. It shouldn't, but it did. They should never have been allowed to get that for free. But they did. Of course they do. They're in a perfect position. Now they get a hard shift as well. This is like just being fed everything. They have a perfect tie down here. They're sitting on half the circle with everyone else fighting each other in the field. Literally could not be any better. They're just fishing. They're fishing people because there's nothing anyone out here can do to push them. As soon as they push out of the dip, they get shut up by everyone else. As soon as he pushes forward, he's a solo, he's not going to do that. Solos, solo, a duo in the back, and a duo up front, and they can't push forward because they have people around them. It's a free one. It's a free win for them. Sorry, the real thing is, when you came here, it was free. You could just keep driving. I think it's Zoid is a noob for not knowing that it was free, you know? There was only one guy there. You could just have crashed it. You should have known. Hindsight knowledge is the best type of knowledge. BA, easy peasy, lemon squeezy. They should be able to clean this up pretty safely. Oh, as I say that, not so safely maybe after all. There you go. How many kills did they get? 10, 17 kill win. They were allowed to do whatever the hell they wanted. The fact that they can push from here to here to here to here to here and only fight one team, that is pretty impressive. Not gonna lie. Pretty impressive. And nonetheless, that was game number 3. I don't even care too much about what happened in the field because field fights are always field fights. And again, you want to have the like up close POV of some of the players to really go in depth with the engagements and see what do they have in terms of smokes and whatnot. But Bay got gifted. I think it's pretty safe to say that BAE got gifted one there. Let's see, maybe other teams get gifted something in the next game. Game 4 it is. Is that the line? Yeah, close enough. Kinda, sorta. We'll do it like that instead. I should just have like a tool in this program that says, draw the plane path. There's a lot of gifting. Well, then hopefully for you, Zoid, you're gonna be the next recipient of the gifts. Let's see. Let's see what happens. Plane path pretty straightforward. Back towards the east we go. No one is looting mansion, prison. Like, this is all completely free. Now there's a fight in Milta. Why? Oh, they were actually kind of fighting for vehicles last game as well. But it was only one player. It was Genfus who was yoinking a vehicle and leaving. And this time around... Oh, that's... No, it is the right game. This time around... It's him again. Going to steal a vehicle. And he's going to loot here. When you have the entirety of farm available, why bother? That is confusing to me. It's one of those, do you have to take this fight? Also, what is this split? What is this split? There's your boat, by the way. Cop, there's your boat. What the hell is this split? Is that a new meta that I don't know? That's a sign of a team having way too much fun. Or let's just take Yasnaya, this, and Mansion. This is fun. It's really interesting to watch. Divine, splitting. That's at least pretty usual, like pretty normal. One of the... Well, sorry. I am going to be very afraid. Or that's the wrong word. I'm going to be very sad when I do come to analyze week 2 of APAC if I don't see Star yoinking center positions away from people. Did you play yesterday? I think you did, right? Are you playing today? I'm actually not even sure. Fury crosses over. It's like, there's still a billion people in Milta. What's going on? We gotta go somewhere else. Tomorrow, I'm expecting some 15 kill wins. Let me put it this way, Soid. I'm expecting placement points in all games this week from you guys. I feel like I'm allowed to expect that from you. I know what you guys are capable of with that roster. Screw what has been. Make something of what is to come, rather than dwelling on what has been. Especially in a lobby where a lot of random stuff happens. I don't think you want to adapt too much to this. You just gotta take center positions, because no one is. I mean, there's one player in Snake, and farm is completely free. For the first... There we go. 50 seconds after the circle pops, there's one player in all of this. 50 seconds after the circle pops, there's one player down here. Had this been Star with the knowledge coming into this week, Lynx would have just done that. And he would have had all of this to himself. Imagine if you started rotating up behind Divine instead. You just get this for free. Look, you would have beaten everyone to this. Obviously, that's a really scary call to make, but I'm just saying, if this repeats itself time and time again, maybe there's a chance you want to make those type plays. Because it seemed like it's not being punished. Like, being greedy is not being punished all that much. Well, either way, XS, they finally leave the military island. Let's continue with the analysis. Star taking a fight to FTF. And unfortunately getting caught out on the U hill, or whatever, island hill, whatever people call this area. Lynx has the dip. Fury getting all the room in the universe. Again, farm is still completely free. I don't understand it, but it is. Farm is still free. Why is Bay not scouting it and taking it? Probably because who the fuck would have thought farm is free at this point? I wonder how long farm is gonna be free for. Is it still gonna be free? Have a good one, Cup. Take care. KT is like the most passive team in the entire lobby. and they're the ones that are gonna get farm after 17 minutes in a farm circle. Look at how many teams are fighting on the top. Like, this is what I was talking about earlier with shooting yourself in the foot. Because by being so passive, you end up getting clustered on the edge. The edges are going to be clustered. Whereas if you look at the center, there's, I mean, that's not really the center, but you know what I mean? It's extremely open. You're clustering up outside the circle because no one dares to make that move. So by everyone staying out there, it just becomes extremely difficult for everyone. It's not like, oh, well, let's just play on the edge because the center is scary. As a matter of fact, in a lot of these games, what is center apparently is safer to play than the edge is. Oh, yeah, I know. I mean, as I was saying, in this particular case, it's a little different because there's not really a whole lot in here. But I'm just saying, after having seen the last 3 games, I mean, when we saw the Miramar game that Day Trade got 20 kills in, they were 2-2 splitting the center of the circle for years. And no one seemed to bother contesting them. So hopefully, tomorrow, not just having done the analysis on my part, hopefully teams will have watched the VODs and seen that, okay, there's actually quite a bit available. So maybe not just YOLO commit to compounds, but do more to scout areas that would normally be taken. Because maybe you'll get lucky. For example, have a solo team. Play on a nice reaction play by BAE or Bay to take that spot. Cluster fight on the north again. Cannot really play down this hill at all. No one's playing the riches. Days on the edge. Archangel trying to make their move in. There's still a rich to play. Does Divine take it? Yes, they do. A little further up, I guess. But still around there. Everyone's forced to go in the open. This is a tough ending. Like, this is a really tough open ending. But it's the teams that dare that ends up winning these tournaments, especially in a lobby where no one really dares anything. Pushing forward to the ridge. Oh, Fury just exactly outside the circle. That's unfortunate. It's very hard to analyze, though. I must admit. It's very hard to analyze what happens. Because I sound like a negative person all the time, and I don't want to. It's just kind of what ends up happening. Circle goes north. Divine wins this easy. There's no way they don't. They have the ridge. Never horse alone. GG. How many kills do they get? 15 kill win. It kind of is. It kind of is all just a mess. But that was day number 1 of APAC. And if you're watching on YouTube, I hope you enjoyed. And I hope to see you in the next